and welcome to episode 25 of the BGCP Disassembled podcast. There was a bit of a technical mishap right there, but that was behind the scenes stuff. I'll cut all that out. But we're here and we're battering in because there's stuff that's happened this week, as I'm sure you're all aware. But we're also going to start with a discussion. But before we get there, I'll introduce you. So, Chrissy, you're back for last week because you're just a permanent fixture at this point. How are you doing, mate?
Oh, fabulous. The sun has been great, so I've been happy. I've been outside just staring at the sun all day. So that's what
I've been in a pub screaming at the football, so...
Oh, no, I wanted to avoid that.
If my voice goes, and I apologise in advance. But David, I don't think you've been on since... I think your last one was episode 16, so it's been a minute, mate. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you, man. I'm sorry I've not been on. Stuff has just happened, and
Well, to be fair, you've been a bit of a busy bee since the last time you were on.
I have. I've been doing a few different things recently.
Yeah, like launching a comic. No big deal, man. Aye, a few things, man. Pure casual. Like I just got a full graphic novel.
I launched it on Kickstarter. Still running just now. If anyone's still, I don't know when this is going to go out, but it finishes up on the 9th of September. It's fully funded, so it's pretty good.
I've not had a chance to actually go in and sort myself out with that, but I'm looking forward to Volume 2 because I really enjoyed Volume 1. So I will be doing that.
Good stuff.
And joining us from Universally Speaking, the RHCP podcast, we've got Ben Townsend. How you doing, Ben?
Good. I'm doing very well, guys. Lovely to be here. Can't wait to talk with you guys.
This has been a long time coming for me and you, man, because once, many moons ago, I guested on your podcast before I even had a webcam, and I was just shouting into a crappy headphone mic, but look how far we've come. we're experts at this point.
I wouldn't say that. I couldn't get my audio interface to work down.
No one needs to know that.
No.
It's a need-to-know basis.
Draw a veil over that.
But you're all looking great, you're all sounding great, so let's just batter in. The discussion topic for this week was something I came up with, not for any particular reason other than I was having a wee think about all your graphic novels and comic books, because we're on to that stuff, and honestly, see, at this point there's so little that hasn't been adapted yet. Like, everything's getting an adaptation. There's a new Why the Last Man coming out. The trailer for that was just out. And then we've got everything. I mean, Amazon's got The Boys, Netflix has got their superhero stuff, and Jupiter's Legacy, and then also the Marvel movies and Disney Plus. It's everywhere. Like, there's hardly anything left to mind, really. So that got me thinking. I was like, what is there left to? What's still out there that hasn't been adapted yet? And then I was like, do you know what? There's probably not even enough to talk about in that discussion. So let's do that along with stuff that's already had an adaptation that wasn't great that you would like to see done again. So that is today's discussion. I'm going to have to phrase that better in the title because that was a hell of a long description. But anyway, we'll work that out later.
What can we make better? That's basically...
Yes, that's good, David. I like that. And it's nice and general as well. I don't really... I'm not into rules in that, man. I'm a laid-back guy. I don't have a number. If you've got one suggestion, you've got 10 suggestions, we'll just batter in. I've got 3. And I figured we would just go one each and just go around and kind of discuss thoughts on them. And I'm no doubt somebody will steal somebody else's at one point and we'll end up tripping at each other, but that's okay because that happens every other week anyway. So I'll kick us off since I'm talking now. Alan Moore is a bit of a Marmite guy. But it's hard to deny how kind of legendary his writing is and his books and his details and his world building and all the rest of it. Some of his stuff, like Watchmen, has had a couple of goes, both of which I liked, but not everybody did. But something that they had to go at, and let's be honest, was a total shambles, was the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Nice.
Sean Connery must have but you have to the Scottish legend that made it a little bit tolerable.
I mean, that movie retired Connery from acting. That's how bad it was.
See, the thing is with that movie, I see when it's on, I watch it all the time, and I never enjoy it. I always watch it.
Oh,
They
did
just
you?
like inflicting pain.
Aye.
Listen, it came out in that era, like Van Helsing, and
Yeah, it did.
I don't know. There was a lot of movies in that era that all had these weird kind of rubbery CGI effects and like weird. Remember the weird car and just all these kind of tropes that were just really popular at the time. And they try to kind of see Alan Moore's graphic novel is I can't remember who drew that, which is shocking. But the artist that worked on the book anyway, they managed to pull through all these different styles because there's futuristic elements to it. There's like the Dorian Gray and there's like the Jekyll and Hyde, and then there's also like the I don't know. There's loads of different kind of like the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. There's all these different influences, and they somehow like make it cohesive in the book. Whereas in the movie, it was as if they couldn't decide on a style, and it just came off bland. I think bland and rubbery and early noughties CGI. That's pretty much
Yeah,
what I remember.
some of the CGI, and the CGI in Mr. Hyde is some of the worst that you will see. When is it? Jason Fleming,
Who is phenomenal. Like,
yeah, great
I love
actor.
that guy. Yeah, yeah. Is it just one of the cases of trying to walk before they could run, or run before they could walk? Even?
I like the aesthetics. Nice though, the vaguely steampunk aesthetic of the film. Some of it looks great, and some of it was pulled nicely from the books. But some of it was really badly mishandled. I think didn't Sean Connery take the role because he'd passed on the architect in the Matrix or something like that, and he didn't want, or passed on Gandalf or something like that. Didn't want to miss out again.
Yep, exactly. He passed on the Matrix, he passed on Lord of the Rings, and he was like, they two done massive, this is going to be good. And then he picked this, and waited, swinging a big man. It was a horrible waste of film, and it's not even a film that's not aged well. It wasn't great at the time, and it's still not good now. But I just think like if you got Amazon money or Netflix money, and got a really good kind of creative team, a good director behind it, it could be. There's stuff there to mine. There's content that could be adapted that could be really really cool.
See, there's I think it was Kevin O'Neill. I might be completely wrong with this, but he was the artist.
Okay.
Because I remember loving his line work, and he was. It's like I think because the actual the graphic novels are actually quite distinguished in themselves. You could maybe make a case to make it an animated movies, or a TV show or something like that. You could, but it might if you had Amazon and Netflix money, you could make a because even there's lots of animations now that look very detailed, and they're all I think some of them are maybe going back to the hand drawn aesthetic, maybe not.
A good example of that is that Love, Death and Robots on Netflix. So I don't know if you've seen that, but that uses loads of different styles of animation, from hyper realistic, as you're saying, Chrissy, photorealistic stuff, to really kind of over the top, into the Spider-Verse style animation. Do you know what I mean? So it kind of covers a range. So I wouldn't mind it in that style, and it's that kind of story as well. It's kind of less of a A to B type story, and it's more like Chronicles. It's more kind of a day in the life of these mad characters come together and have to do something. So, see if it was a TV show, I would actually quite like to see it. As a kind of anthology series. It doesn't need to be like the movie had a plot, A to B. It can just be here's this one day that they went on this mad thing, and then skip 2 years ahead, and maybe a few members of the team have swapped out, and then we pick up again. And do you know what I mean? I don't need to see something that's like a full-on story. If it's just wee bits and bobs, I think that could still be really, really interesting. And the style I Love, Death and Robots.
As a TV series, you could definitely flesh out each character a little bit more and make it a little bit more entertaining that way.
Yeah.
I think it was a real missed opportunity for Stephen Norrington as well, coming off Blade, which I've got a lot of time for. I think that first Blade film is really good.
Yeah.
And I could see him doing, if The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen hadn't been as compromised as it was, because I think there was also studio interference going on and the normal stuff that happens. I think he could have gone places, and this is digging back into memory. I think he's moved away from the film business, isn't doing that anymore. But and of course the first Blade also blighted at the end by terrible CGI with the blood monsters. The demons explode, but the first thing they were going to do was a blood whirlwind in the middle of the room. So he's got
talking about Blade, I mean, Blade had like an R rating, and I wonder if that would make a difference if it wasn't kind of PG-13 and it was just to let you go full Alan Moore, because the comic's quite dark and quite Alan Moore, quite mature and violent and all the rest of it. So, yeah, I think that'd be interesting. So that's my first pick.
Well, I was going to dive in because it's related to Alan Moore.
Sure.
I don't want to make up these whole episodes about this long-haired bearded gentleman, but like I think really like it's already had an adaptation. It's an animated thing. I think I mentioned it last week. Is like the Killing Joke.
Right.
I think that is such a well-rounded story. In the sense it's short as well, but there could be elements of like what they've done with animation. They added like half an hour of just useless nonsense in the beginning, and then they got to the core at the end of it, and it was really good. Like the animation was good. It was a wee bit clunky. It wasn't as smooth as possible, but I really liked it. But I think
Chris, I've got a bone to pick with you, man.
On you go.
When I was listening to last week's episode, I was on my phone at the time and I was like, I'm going to take a few notes and pull her up because the Killing Joke's awful. That animated adaptation's horrible. How dare you defend that piece of shit, man?
It's like if you're a Batman fan, you just need to take it in the chin. It's like it has to be. It's on your belt.
It should have been brilliant. It was Alan Moore's kind of Batman magnum opus. It was Conroy coming back as Batman, Hamill coming back as Joker. It had everything going for it. And it was such a swing and a miss, man. Even the parts, and I'm not just talking about like the Batgirl stuff. Let's not go into that, right? But that happened. But I mean, even the scenes, like there's a shout out to H Bomber guy. I don't know if any of you watch him on YouTube. He's got a video comparison where he basically breaks down why the animated film is such a shallow cash in. Mm-hmm. See the scene at the start where they go into Arkham Asylum and it's a fake Joker and Batman gets to paint his hand and all that. Well, on the way in, they walk past the receptionist desks. To be fair, they did pretty much use the graphic novel as a storyboard in certain parts of the animated movie, right? Mm-hmm. There's a side-by-side image, and it's like a kind of bird's eye view, kind of isometric view of this receptionist office. And in the comic, she's got a newspaper sitting, she's got files everywhere, she's got a half-drunk cup of coffee with her lipstick stain on it. There's all these small details that obviously... Dave Gibbons? No. Dave Gibbons drew it, right?
Brian Bolland, wasn't it?
Brian Bolland, thanks, mate. David Gibbons is Watchmen, sorry. Brian Bolland's art, like, obviously, but, I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen Alan Moore's notes he leaves for the artist. It's insane, like, it's screeds and stuff. Like, for the frame in Watchmen, that's the smiley face line in the blood. That one image had that was like a 3-page document that you sent to Dave Gibbons. It's like, what are you doing? It's what we get. It's a smiley face in the blood. 2 sentences, you know what I mean? But that part in Killing Joke, and in the animated series, you know, it's a blank desk. She's maybe got receptionist at the front. She's got a phone, and that's it. Do you know what I mean? There's no of these kind of small world-building details that are in the book, and even the parts that they try to adapt. So, some, as much as I love Mark Hamill, and I really do, some of the lines did translate great, directly lifted from the comic, I didn't think. Like, they read better than the sound, I think. We need another adaptation of that, you're right, Chrissy, because that was horrible. Apologies for hijacking that, I just hate that film, man.
No, you are right, like, the translation, it doesn't feel as smooth, it feels like what you said is like a quick cash grab. They could have spent a little bit more time on it. I really think they were just under pressure. Like, people were wanting this, like, as an adaptation for years, thinking that this is going to be the next. I think it was like the Mask Phantom was the
Mask of the Phantasm.
Mask of the Phantasm was like the mark of animated movies, and then.
But that was also the Bruce Timm era. That was the golden years. That was the late 90s, early 90s. Exactly. You know what I mean? That was when the animated stuff was like.
Was Bruce Timm not brought on this to like help? No, was he not a part of it?
He might have been. He's probably a producer, I would imagine. I don't remember. Mm-hmm. But
I think that's what sold me. I was like, okay, he's on this.
Shout out to last week's episode. I can't remember who it was that mentioned it, but one of you guys last week said what I would love to see. These incredible graphic novels, right? Batman alone, right? Take his kind of chronology, his stories. Telltale games that. They do these chapters. I don't know if you guys play Telltale games, but it's like a chapter's released every month, and it's like a short, 30-minute, 40-minute story. just adapt the graphic novels. Just like Batman Year One, playable. You get dialogue options. You get to move Batman from A to B. But I mean, let's be honest. Telltale games are pretty much point and click. You can't actually interact that much. Therefore, you could still tell the story faithfully. I think. Like I think if you got like the guys that made Arkham Asylum to do it, it would be a bit. It'd be hard to stay faithful, I think. Yeah. But like Telltale or something, like an animated kind of narrative thing, do that. Give us an adaptation of Killing Joke in that form, and I would buy the shit out of that, man.
I think the artwork on Killing Joke's so distinctive as well. Sorry.
Yes.
No, not at all.
And to have as you say, Dan, a much blander, less humanised version of it, and to strip out, strip out those the little details in order to, I don't know, save money or get it through quickly.
It was also the issue with Long Halloween recently. I mean, Tim Sale's art, talk about distinctive, do you know what I mean? And then they've just made it standard DC animated fare, and it's like, well, this isn't the same.
Yeah, the Joker in that was fucking terrifying in the comic. Like, I mean... Tim
Sale's Joker's brilliant. Tim Sale's art everywhere is just incredible.
But, like, and I think they tried to do it in the Long Halloween. I've only seen, like, parts of it in the trailers. But they tried a little bit to make him a little bit scarier and a wee bit unique. But you can just see, even, like, the guy that plays... I can't remember his name, but the guy who tries to imitate Mark Hamill, it's just that off. It's like,
is it Troy Baker?
It's Troy Baker. Troy Baker. I'm like,
who's again a great voice actor. But
it's a great voice actor, but man, I want him to do his own thing. Like he's like getting now. He's just like he's becoming the.
He does a great Hamill impression. Yeah.
Hi, but it's like make it your own. Like you've had the gig multiple times. Try and do something different. And it's
although to be fair, he's one of the only actors ever to play Batman and Joker, which is pretty cool.
Is it? When did he play Batman?
The Telltale games. He's Batman in the Telltale games. Yeah. That's not a bad thing for your CV.
No. He's DC. He's a DC magnet now. Oh, sorry. We probably like derailed this whole conversation just talking about the Killing Joke.
I quite enjoyed the Killing Joke movie. The animation. I didn't think it was all that bad at all. But I've only ever read the comic probably once, and I don't own it. I think I borrowed it off my pal, and I read it. So I can't really relate too much to it, but I enjoyed it. I remember thinking it was all right. It wasn't brilliant, but I wasn't putting them side by side and kind of lining them up that way. But so I mean, for me, the Killing Joke was okay. I'm kind of weird with this, but if they wanted to do a remake of it or whatever, then
I think a live action one would be a step up. I think just to see what it would look like. It might be the totally wrong way to go, but it could be like. I don't even think Ben Affleck would be a way to go with him, but even like the Robert Pattinson Batman, like something like that.
I don't know, man. I'm happy letting Matt Reeves do his thing. I trust Matt Reeves. You tell your story, mate.
I'm excited.
Let's not interfere with directors' visions. We know how that end turns out. Look at Suicide Squad, the original. Just let's not do that.
Put that in the mud right there.
Right, sorry. Shall we move? Shall we just go right in my Discord window? I've got Chris next to me and David above him, so we'll go David next.
For me, man, I think the X-Men, every single X-Men movie is just pants.
That's a bold, vast statement, David.
That's a very bold statement.
It is. I'm sorry, every single one. I mean, the first three were terrible. I was so looking forward. What I appreciate about it was 2000, I think, the first X-Men movie came out. It was. Was it Zack Snyder? Is that correct?
Brian Singer.
Brian Singer. My apologies.
Yeah. We don't mention him anymore.
No, we don't mention. Zack Snyder still not.
He cannot be mentioned.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry, my apologies. Brian Singer.
Did you feel that way at the time, David, or is that something that you thought since about those?
No. I felt that at the time. I was so looking forward to the X-Men. The thing is they did launch the comic book kind of movies. There's no doubt about that. You can't take that away from them. But it was just so off the mark. It was just like, what's going on here, man? Every character, although they resembled their own kind of, the comic book version, it just wasn't. They could have done so much better. And so, any other one after that, I mean, the third one, what's the third one called again?
The Last Stand.
The Last Stand. Oh my God.
Well, that was a
brutal movie.
How many times are we going to do Dark Phoenix before they realise this doesn't work?
I mean, it's just. The second one as well, X2, I think it was called. See the scene, right, where there's a few good scenes in all of them, right? But, the scene where Jean, I think, is talking through Cyclops, and Cyclops is talking, or no, hold on, is it Cyclops is talking talking through Professor X
Okay.
to Jean Grey? I think it's that, and it's just the cringiest thing I've ever seen in my life. It's like, what are you doing here, man? You're just killing all my favourite characters that I've loved for so long. The X-Men is what really got me into comic books, and just to see them brutalised like that, I was just so disappointed. And I don't think they've made a decent one since.
I have a question for you though. What about Logan?
That's what I was good. That's why I raised my voice. I was like,
Did you not enjoy Logan?
what? You didn't like that one?
Oh no, sorry, hold on. Yes, enjoyed Logan. My apologies.
Right.
I thought you meant Wolverine as in the actor.
Right. Okay. No. Sorry. I mean.
Logan was
the
good.
last movie.
Aye,
Huge action.
Aye, Logan was good, but it's also, I mean, again, the ending. He fights himself at the end. Still not that.
I know what you mean.
brilliant.
That was
yeah.
You know,
a
how
bit
much
lazy.
Hugh Jackman? Aye, how much Hugh Jackman do you want? It's kind of, you know, so it
Depends on who you ask.
Yeah, exactly.
it starts off really, really well. It's, you know, midway through it's pretty good. Then all of a sudden it's like Hugh Jackman fighting Hugh Jackman. You're just like, come on, man, how much Hugh Jackman as Wolverine do you want? And I don't think Hugh Jackman is a particularly well cast Wolverine. He's too
That's
tall.
an interesting question.
He's-
What
he-
would you point? Who would you think would be?
I don't know. I mean, I don't have an answer to it. I don't think he's bad. He's obviously done. He's been Wolverine now for years and years.
If you would like some ideas of who should play X-Men characters, we did an episode about 3 months ago casting the MCU X-Men. So just to shoehorn that in, I'll link that below.
I'll need to check that out, actually.
But that's my question, though, David. How do you feel about the MCU introducing X-Men? Are you excited? Are you trepidatious?
Yes, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. I think they'll do a better job of it. I'm not too sure how they're going to bring them in. I personally would like them to kind of... I've got two options that I think will be okay. Either just bring them in as a kind of underground gang of people, if you like. So they've always been there. They've just been kind of hiding in the background and introduce them that way. Or a kind of House of X. Is it House of X?
Sure.
Where they all of a sudden something happens and mutants start kind of evolving a bit more rapidly. I would prefer that they were always there. They're just kind of staying underground, maybe too young to venture into kind of the heroics of the Avengers. You know, that's how I would like it to get put in. I'm really excited. I think they'll do a better job at casting it and a better job at writing it, and I think they'll look better as well.
I think we've seen Hugh Jackman tweeted out recently a picture of him with Kevin Feige, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Hinting at some possible ongoing role. But
I think Feige might have poo-pooed that since then, but I mean, Jackman has said since Logan the only way he'd ever come back to that character would be an Avengers movie. Do you know what I mean? If they were to tie into the MCU. So I think he would do it, and I think he likes the idea of it, but whether or not the mastermind, the Don, Kevin Feige does, that's...
I think you need a clean break.
Yes, I agree with you, Ben. I think it needs a completely new start, all new cast. You know, do the original X-Men team, you know, the original 5 or 6, whatever it was, and do it that way.
Yeah.
I seen actually, I forgot his name. It's a difficult name to pronounce. He was in Breaking Bad. He was rumoured to be cast as Professor X.
Bryan Cranston.
No. You know the bad guy in Breaking Bad.
Giancarlo Esposito.
Yes.
Oh.
I mean, he's everywhere now. He's in
he's a very
the new
popular-
Far Cry. He's in Mandalorian.
He's in Mandalorian,
The
yes.
Boys.
He's in The Boys, is he?
Yeah. He's the director guy in The Boys.
Oh, I can't remember that.
I mean, he's phenomenal. I don't have a problem with that.
I think that's a good casting. Actually, I quite like that. I think that'd be pretty good.
I'd watch him do it. I'd watch him read the phone book. So
Aye,
I think part of my problem with the X-Men films, especially the first, those first 3, and I was really, really looking forward to them coming out, was they adopted the black leather look for the costumes. And the X-Men are one of the most colourful groups of characters you'll ever see in your life.
sure.
And they coming off Blade, I think, basically. Blade's all dressed in leather. He
It was
looks really
safe.
cool. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And maybe a little flash of yellow on Wolverine's costume on his X at the end.
Yeah.
And they have that line in X-Men, don't they? When they put on the leather, and Wolverine says something. Cyclops, James Marsden says, "What are you expecting? Yellow spandex."
Sure.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I was.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping for it.
That would have been better. Yeah.
That's what bothers me in sort of movies and shows and books that try to be cool, is when, fair enough, if you want to do your own thing, you want to change it, go for it, but don't take the piss out of the thing that people like. Like when they rebooted Devil May Cry, I don't know if you guys played that, but in the reboot, the guy had like dark emo hair, and in one clip, an old mop blew out in his head, and it was like the white classic Dante. He went, "No chance," and pulled it off, and I'm like, "Don't slag off the old one, just do your own thing." Like, do you know what I mean?
And even with the X-Men films, at the end of the Wolverine, the one in Japan, was it that the Wolverine? They have that either cutscene or sting of him opening up a suitcase, and it has the classic Wolverine costume in there, and it looks great. And you think, just stick him in that.
Take that on right now. I was just like, put that on. Get it on right now.
You're 2 foot too tall, but put it on.
And the thing is, they made the suit, so just put it on.
Just put the fucking thing on.
I mean, it's the same with Apocalypse. So when Oscar Isaac did Apocalypse, there was, I don't know if you guys have seen it, and the special effects behind the scenes stuff. They had an Apocalypse head that looked comic accurate, looked amazing, and it was like, why didn't you go with that?
Why didn't you do it? When I'm talking about the X-Men movies, I'm talking about the group X-Men movies. The standalone, like the Wolverine and stuff, is pretty good. I mean, I enjoy all. It's sort of, the Wolverine you just meant, the Wolverine.
I hope you're not bad in Origins in with that.
Hi, Wolverine Origins. I mean, again, it's pretty bad as well, but it's still better. It's still better than the X-Men films. So that's the thing.
Oh, that's a bold statement. Gone in my head, I'd rather watch X-Men, but that's just me personally.
Oh, if we're going to talk also on the bad CGI front, there's a scene in, I think, Wolverine Origins where he stands in front of a mirror and looks at his claws. And they are, I mean, no one has connected them to his hands.
Yeah, that's like Space Jam. Like...
They are huge, these big, massive fucking claws. It's like they change size every time he flips them out.
So how far did they go up your arm?
How do you bend your arm?
Yeah.
Totally. That's the sinking.
Okay, Ben, I think we're on to you, mate.
I think we're going Alan Moore again, I'm afraid. We might as well get this out of the way.
Sure.
And we'll go with Watchmen. I think the Zack Snyder Watchmen does a lot of things right. The build up to that was one of the best. It wasn't social media at the time. It was just on the website. Every day they'd release a new picture because the world building in that film is absolutely phenomenal. Yeah. And they would just release the army patches. They would release snippets of Gunga Diner. Here's what the sign's going to look like. It was great. And there was motion posters with each character's theme on there. And the soundtrack is for that film is outstanding as well. And they got 50% of the characters spot on and completely messed up. And to be honest, okay, here we go. Here's who they got right. I think the comedian was great.
Yeah,
he was good.
Absolutely superb. Brilliantly cast. And that performance is superb.
Yeah, he's a good actor.
Yeah, I agree, he is. Rorschach was, again, brilliantly cast. To the point where when he takes the mask off, Jackie L. Haley looks like you would expect him to look.
Spot on.
Yeah. Some of the stuff they're doing in the, when he's stuck in the prison and he's got to escape, he's cutting off arms. Brilliant stuff. And Dr. Manhattan, I thought, was, for the time, as well realised as they could have done it. And I think that performance, that flat-eyed, neutral performance was great. But I don't want Batman in my Watchmen film.
No.
And that's what you've got with Night Owl, or the second Night Owl. First Night Owl, for those snippets that you see, and the extra, the extras that you get on the DVDs, and behind the mask that you get, the live, is superb. But Patrick Wilson is a superb actor as well. He just needs to be more schlubby. This is niche, isn't it? Just picking a film and going in on characters. Night Owl needs to be more schlubby, more overweight, less confident, and less kick-ass.
Yes. Totally, man. You can't have schlubby Night Owl in slow motion punching teeth out of a guy's mouth.
Exactly.
It doesn't work.
No.
Do you know what I mean? It doesn't go.
No, exactly. And the other one is Ozymandias. Again, Matthew Good is a good actor, but I need my Ozymandias to be about 45, 50. A man, not because he's the cleverest man in the whole world. And I think Matthew Good was about 30 at the time. And the least convincing German accent ever.
Yeah, no,
just very, very poor casting, and the costume is a joke. And I know it's Zack Snyder making comments on superheroes, the nipples and all of that, and the commodity of superheroes, which is there in the graphic novel. But I would recast. I'd like to see a Watchmen, and I like that Watchmen film, but I want to see a different. And Patrick Wilson can play Night Owl, just needs to be a little bit different, and a recast Ozymandias. And I was trying to think who I would cast as that kind of Aryan, blonde-eyed, blue-eyed mastermind in that.
Listen, obviously it would be too old to do a straight adaptation, but I love Jerry Meyer's take on it. I loved the presence he had while still slightly being insane because he was in isolation in the show. And I thought Irons nailed it. And I mean, the TV show is a different kettle of fish because that's not a sequel to the movie, that's a sequel to the comic and all the rest of it. But
I've not actually seen the TV show. Yeah. No. It's not streaming anywhere, is it?
If you've got HBO Max, it's on there.
No.
If you can seek it out, I would say it's worth seeking it out. Some of the things they do are interesting. There's some episodes where you're like, where's this going? But as a whole, I thought it was a fascinating series. I think it was probably Damien Lindelof's best work, possibly. I thought it was interesting. And I think they're possibly talk about season 2, and I'm like, no, one and done. Like, that story ended, and it's a nice epilogue to the comic, and that's what it is. Do you know what I mean? Don't milk it.
They totally changed the ending to the film from the book.
They did.
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah, completely different.
And again, that's watering down the original concept because they thought an actual genetically engineered squid would be laughable, which in some ways it would have been a little bit difficult one to pull off. But at least in the film, when Adrian Veidt is detonating the device blamed on Dr. Manhattan, there is one shot in it where the machine is called Squid and it's initialized as something else, which is
like an acronym. Yeah. However, you were talking about it being laughable, and I agree on paper at the time, especially in 2008, I think it came out, or 2007, it would have been like, what you did. But there's a flashback scene in the series, and the TV show, to the attack in New York, and it's really quite horrifying. It's really Lovecraftian. It's quite scary. I was watching, I was like, well, this is dark, this is horrific, this feels like what it's supposed to, an alien terrorist attack, and that's how they kind of framed it in the show, and I actually thought it was really effective. But yeah, hindsight's 2020 into it, so.
See just on the Night Owl, like, I really thought there was a really connection between Owlman and DC. I think Zack Snyder must have took some inspiration from him, because Owlman's like supposed to be the opposite of Batman in an alternative universe. Well, he's supposed to be built and stuff. Owlman's kind of...
Alan Moore, when he wrote the graphic novel, wanted to use different characters. He wanted to use DC. I don't know the history details. One of you guys might know better than me. But I think DC bought the rights to another comic company. And
Charlton.
With that... Thanks, Ben. The guest knows more than the host. This is great. And then when they took all those characters on, that was the characters Alan Moore wanted to use, and DC didn't let him. The comedian was originally Peacemaker, John Cena's character from the last Suicide Squad film. That was a comedian's part, and I can't remember who Night Owl was off the top of my head. I don't know if anybody else can.
I thought it was Batman supposed to be, but I think that's wrong.
No, I don't think it was, because they did want to use obscure characters. I know that.
Right,
much.
Okay, fair dues. I didn't realise that.
I think DC said they didn't want to lose the rights to those Charlton characters in one go.
Yeah, because they wanted to kill them.
In case they wanted to keep using them in the future.
But I think it worked out. I mean, I think it's gave us other iconic characters that DC haven't done too much more with until recently in the Future's End series, and that wasn't great. But listen, Watchmen, the intro to Watchmen is still one of the best intros to any film, let alone superhero film I've ever seen. That intro's with the Bob Dylan song, and
great soundtrack.
Yeah, super.
That Zack Snyder, say what you want about him, he knows how to do a title sequence. That Army of the Dead movie that came out recently was pretty garbage, but again, the opening credits were incredible. He knows how to do an opening credits sequence to sort of give credit to everybody and get you kind of hooked in, and you're like, oh, here we go, and then the movie never lives up to the first 5 minutes. That's the only thing. But
I watched Zack Snyder Dawn of the Dead recently.
Yeah, me too.
Which I'd seen when it first came out, and I didn't want to go back to because I'm a big George A. Romero fan. I don't want to see the zombies running about. But he does a similar thing in Dawn of the Dead, just using stock footage.
Yeah, he does.
And it's so effective again. He's got...
And I can't remember the song, but yeah, it's really good sequence, that.
Yeah. Yeah, so let him do intros, then get another better director in for the rest of the film.
Sure. Fine with that. Do you know what?
I have to disagree. I kind of enjoyed it. I mean, I thought it was okay as a Netflix flick. You know, like it wasn't his best work.
What's this, Arm of the Dead?
Arm of the Dead. I enjoyed it. Like I thought it was quite... It was like it's a good movie to just watch. They've not actually connected to it.
We're getting sidetracked, but all I'm going to say is that movie wasn't as fun as it should have been.
Oh no,
I was
it
watching
was
a
definitely
fun movie, and don't get Zack Snyder if you want a fun movie. It's the
45 minutes too long as well.
That too.
Oh yeah, that too.
Looks like I'll be watching that tonight.
I will jump into my next one in a wee sec, but last night I was in the pub with my mate, and I was telling him we were doing this on the podcast tomorrow night, and he said first thing he said was Justice League, and I went, Justice League? Zack Snyder's Justice League, that was the whole point. He got to redo it because the first one was shabby and it seemed to go down well generally, blah blah blah. And he was like, aye, but not Zack Snyder's Dark Justice League, a faithful Justice League to the comic. And I was like, that's an interesting shout. We've never really had that on screen, which is insane when you think about it, when you think of how oversaturated superhero movies are and how much money they make and all the rest of it. It's like, how have we never had an accurate Justice League? That's kind of...
We've only really had one, well, apart from obviously animation, but when it comes to live action, we've only had one Justice League, 1.2, 1 point,
And that's the thing, Joss Whedon's cut, obviously, we don't need to go over it. There's a whole 3-hour Snyder Cut special that, again, I will link below. But long short is, Joss Whedon's cut wasn't great. Zack Snyder's cut is great if you're a Zack Snyder fan. If not, it's not. But neither of those, regardless of where you think either of them are good, they're not faithful adaptations of the Justice League. So
I think one thing that it's quite hard to kind of do. Like I think Marvel done it really well with the building the universe. Everybody's kind of familiar with all the characters.
Yeah.
DC just shove it in your face, and you're like, oh well, we don't know any of these, and then they try and shoehorn backstories, and it just ruins the whole.
I'm going to record myself saying this and just put it in because I say it every episode. But DC should never have tried to catch Marvel.
No.
Marvel were 3-4 years ahead before DC even get their arse in gear. When Man of Steel was coming out, before they even planned anything, Marvel were so far ahead. They should have just let the directors make their own movies, like Todd Phillips' Joker, like Matt Reeves' Batman, like James Gunn's Suicide Squad. Just get these creative people to do their own story. It doesn't need to tie into anything and make it interesting. That's all we wanted. That's all we needed. But anyway, that doesn't make money, I guess. So
we were a lot closer to getting the colourful Justice League with the George Miller version. They got nixed right at the last minute.
That's true.
When you seen the costumes were designed, they were those kind of more. I haven't read the script or seen anything like that. But Armie Hammer as Batman was cut. All the casting was done on it, and the costumes look okay. So
would have been interesting.
We got close.
Yeah, maybe Nicolas Cage Superman. Who knows? Another universe maybe. For my next one, I've went with one that hasn't been adapted yet, as far as I know. I don't think this has been adapted. And it's a comic book by Mark Waid called Irredeemable. Don't know if you guys have read it. The story has kind of been done in similar ways since. It's Superman Goes Bad. Like, we have seen it in The Boys, we've seen it in the new Justice League game, we've seen it in Zack Snyder's Dream World and Batman v Superman, but Irredeemable has a really unique what's the word? I mean, it is quite macabre, but it is also like, I don't know, heartfelt. It's a weird book, but an Irredeemable adaptation would be fascinating. Do you guys know the book?
No. I don't know. I know like the whole kind of history of like when Superman just snaps it. It's usually like Lois Lane gets like killed or something. He just wants to kill everybody.
I mean,
I don't know if that's the rough concept of.
What's it called? Invincible was just out recently, and again, he's quite Omni-Man, but there's more tied to it that makes it. I don't know. It just makes it so much dark. I think it's better than Invincible and The Boys and a lot of the other ones. Since you guys don't know too much about it, and I'm struggling to remember the details of it because it has been a few years, I'll read the synopsis. The series follows the fall follows the fall of the world's greatest superhero, the Plutonian, as he begins slaughtering the population of Earth. His former allies, a superhero group called the Paradigm, attempt to find a way to stop his rampage while dealing with their own problems of betrayal and hopelessness. But there's more to than that. There's family ties. There's some really dark subject matter that I don't want to kind of go into and spoil here. But yeah, make irredeemable. When I first read it, it was one of the ones I was like, oh, could they adapt this? This is really close to the bone and really dark. But in a world where we've had The Boys and we've had I don't know. I mean, James Gunn's Suicide Squad and all these kind of really kind of messed up superhero graphic novel related things. I think that the marketplace is wide open for it. So yeah, that's my second shout.
I'd love to see it. I'd like to know how you corrupt Superman that badly. That would be the stumbling block, I think, for me.
I'm not going to say it. I would really recommend
Buy the book.
Because
no spoilers.
I don't think I can do it justice. But that's the thing. It's really well done. It doesn't feel cheap or shoehorned. It feels earned, and that kind of makes it worse. Do you know what I mean? You're like, oh, I don't know how I feel about that. It'll make you feel things that you're not sure you want to feel, but it's also really entertaining and really well written. And yeah, fantastic book. Chris, have you got another?
I was wrangling with two in my head, and it was just when like Ben and Dave were talking about Justice League. I'm going to go with Manhunter, Martian Manhunter, but I was going to go with Green Lantern. Just they two are like.
I can see an argument for either.
I know, like Martian, you've not really seen much of him. And
well, I mean, they shoehorned about Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah, exactly. That's
fine.
exactly.
Remember that time in Man of Steel you stood there and did nothing while the Metropolis get flattened? I don't forget about that.
I know, like, you're all right. You're all right. But like,
maybe he's one of the Eternals because he done nothing during Thanos. So maybe he's one of the lazy bastards.
I think like he's got so much potential. Man. Like he's an alien. Like it's like that's like an amazing. Just a movie on Mars, and then at the end, the cliffhanger, he's landed on Earth. You know, and he doesn't know where he is and stuff like that. I think that would be so. I don't really know as much as I should know about him. I just kind of know from the Justice League cartoons, but he's a character that's always been like, right, okay, he's mysterious, but also he's got a history. You know, he's the last of his kind, or is he? You know what I mean? It's like kind of going in that kind of direction.
Yeah,
but I think there was also an opportunity for that when DC first started the DCEU. When they were trying to catch up with Marvel, but Marvel was still at that point a lot more grounded in the films they were releasing. To say, right, well, we'll just go batshit crazy. Here's something you've never seen before. Here's Martian Manhunter, and that would have then differentiated them from that. It wouldn't have been so dark, it wouldn't have been so dour. But that's what they were going for, so it wouldn't be like Marvel. But yeah, I think there's an opportunity to do that and really get it out there.
Because you could even, like, this is going really, really far, but you could try and connect it to John Stewart, in a sense. Like, he was the guy, he went and found the ring, he became one of the Ring Lanterns, he's going around the universe. He bumps into Martian Manhunter and stuff like that, then it starts building stuff. I don't know, it might do.
Zack Snyder already tried to John Stewart Martian Manhunter because originally it was John Stewart that appeared to Batman at the end of Justice League, yeah. And Warner Bros. Were like, no, he's too obscure. Do somebody, so he did Martian Manhunter instead.
Like, I really want I'm just a DC fan. I wanted the Justice League to work, but see, to be honest, now I really just want to start there again and like do it truthfully, do what Joker done, what Tom Phillips done. Start just making good movies, good stories, and connecting them all. Maybe make references, like in a newspaper article you see Henry Cavill saving somebody or something like that, but don't connect them.
I have them all in the world, but they don't have to actually necessarily
see each other.
Each other, aye.
It's
like,
something.
Thing is, if
just
you
call it Worlds of DC or Chronicles of DC, it doesn't need to be this guy, team movie. Like, you don't need to do that formula because I mean, let's talk about stuff that needs rebooted or was a failed adaptation. Remember the Dark Universe? Remember they tried to do
Oh
it?
no!
The Universal characters.
The one film.
Yeah,
The
well,
one film.
and the photo shoot that they did.
The first,
Yeah, exactly. Like, don't try and run before you can walk. Like, just make. That's the thing. Again, I said this on another episode, so apologies if I sound like a parrot. But the Marvel formula happened by accident. That first Iron Man film, I was watching an interview with Jeff Bridges, and he was saying how that was the biggest project he'd been on for like decades that didn't have a script. He was like, we're going to this huge it wasn't multi-million dollar at that time, it was fairly downsized compared to what it is now, but it's still a big superhero film. You know, it's Jon Favreau, it's this fairly summer blockbuster movie, and they didn't have a script. Well, they did. They had certain points to touch on, but they didn't have a detailed script. Do you know what I mean? And so much of that patter between him and Tony in that film is Downey Jr. and him ad-libbing. And Favreau watched the dailies back and went, "Oh, that's good. Let's write more of that in and make that the tone of the film." And now that's why there's kind of that comedic, happy, easygoing kind of tone to a lot of the Marvel films, and that happened by accident. So, yeah, I don't know. It's
See,
like,
that's what happens when you let creative people create.
yeah,
You know, and don't hold them back. Don't try and restrict them. Just go, well, listen, okay, you're the creative person. Go and fucking be creative.
Yeah,
and that's the thing.
Right.
I feel like DC are one step forward, two steps back, because they got this creative guy. Whether you like him or not, Zack Snyder is a creative talent, right? So they get this creative director. He made Man of Steel, and then they seen Marvel, and they were like, right, we need that. You're the man. Put this whole universe together. Tie all these in. Be the mastermind. Be your Kevin Feige. That obviously crashed and burned and failed.
Right. Do it in 2 films.
And then we got to recently where, like we're saying, we're getting Todd Phillips' Joker, Matt Reeves' Batman. We're getting these kind of different stories that aren't connected. And I was like, good, this is what I wanted the whole time. And then I read the other day that apparently they're trying to pitch James Gunn to be the universe runner for the DC films going forward. And I'm like, what are you doing? This is where you messed up last time. And I know that James Gunn's a different kettle of fish to Zack Snyder, but he's still got his very distinct style, and you cannot build a whole universe based on that. Whether you like James Gunn or not, which I don't particularly, you can't build a whole universe on that. Just like you can't build a whole universe on Zack Snyder's dark slow-mo tone. It doesn't work for every character. Just how the quirky, kind of tongue-in-cheek James Gunn fourth wall breaking stuff doesn't work for every DC character. You can't do that.
I think it's as Dave said earlier. You just make good films with good filmmakers and good actors, and you let it evolve naturally.
Yeah. Unless you're Edgar Wright, then you get booted to.
Oh yeah, then you get kept on for 12 years and kicked off. Yeah. But even with that first Iron Man film, Marvel were having a little punt, weren't they? At the end of that first Iron Man film, with Nick Fury coming in talking about the Avengers Initiative, just to see what the reaction was. If there'd been no reaction, they wouldn't have. That's that. Yeah. We've taken a 15-second chance there at the end of the film.
Paid off. It paid off dividends.
Yeah.
David, do you have another one, mate?
My next one actually would be the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh yes.
Okay. Hit me.
The very, very first film in the 90s was brilliant. Absolutely loved it. That was fantastic. The other two, not so much. I still can enjoy them. Let's not talk about the cartoons. Let's just leave that completely separate. But the most recent two films are just absolute shite. Basically, I've been reading the Last Ronin, and just reading that comic, it's just like, this is absolutely fantastic. It's dark, it's gritty, it's fun. It's got a bit of nostalgia going on there. It's really good. And I would like to see someone go back to the kind of original movie, taken, and also with the original comic writers, and doing something with that, rather than this Nickelodeon big turtles that are larger than life and spinning around, and you're just like, what the fuck is this?
Speaking of directors that don't really meet the tone of a character, Michael Bay was not the man to mastermind those movies.
What is exactly? It's like, what is this guy? Is he a turtle? Is he a transformer? What the fuck's going on here? It's just all over the place, and I'm just like, I've watched it a couple of times trying to join. Casey Jones is one of the best characters of all time. He's fantastic. He's great in the movies. He's great in the comics. And in the last movie, you're just like, who's this guy? Who is this guy? It was just mince. So I would like a reboot, a proper reboot of the Turtles, and even aim it for a slightly older audience. 15 or I don't know what the rates are.
Well, I mean, those original TMNT comics were pretty dark and messed up.
Exactly. They're not. They're not completely for kids. You know what I mean? And you should always go back to the original. What the original idea was, and go, right, okay, we're going to try and make this as a movie. And I think Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Give me a reboot.
Testify.
Yeah.
The thing is, for so many years, studios' argument to that would be, oh, but that kind of movie doesn't make money. You need to make it PG-13 for the box office. But Deadpool and Suicide Squad didn't make a lot of money. But Logan, was a big R-rated film. It's been done, so they don't have that argument anymore.
Deadpool and Logan have certainly broke that barrier. I think it was a shame. I think Dredd came out just a little bit too soon. Or the advertising for it wasn't as good.
Dredd was ahead of its time.
That's another great movie as well.
But speaking of Deadpool, Tim Miller would be an interesting creative force to do TMNT. I wouldn't mind seeing that.
That would be good, actually.
I think we're coming back into a time as well now where we've moved away from everybody wanting to do everything completely CGI.
Yep.
And what you could do brilliantly now with the Turtles is a mix of practical suits and then enhancing it with CGI. So that first film is a real touch point for me. Yeah, there I was at secondary school, first year, second year, something like that.
I think
someone tells me that there's a pirate copy up the road.
That sounds exactly what
from a girl you've never met. But if you go, someone told me in art class, someone's got TMNT. If you go up and ask for it, say I sent you, she will lend it to you. So there I go, up the road, knocking on the door. Hello,
VHS.
Exactly, VHS. Pirated to shit. So anyway, hello, I'm Ben. You've never met me, but John told me I can borrow the new Turtles film off you. Okay.
Guys, no, it's PCP I've got, mate. No TMNT.
that was a whole different experience. That was in the 5th year of school. But, taking it back, putting it in, barely being able to see anything. And that really works for the film, actually.
I think I had the same one, actually. I think I had the same copy as you.
5 generations later. But you're right, that dark version, and it's never going to be as dark as the Eastman.
Christ. Hold on, I've got them here. Because Eastman is back.
Eastman, the other one isn't. One of them sold up.
So one of them sold up. So Eastman was bought out, or he originally, and then is it Laird? Eastman and Laird.
Yeah.
So they're actually both back just now. So
Cool.
Eastman was bought out by Laird, and then Laird carried on doing what he was doing, and then Laird sold up to everybody, and then to someone else, and then whoever that hired back Eastman.
Right.
And so now Eastman is working on a thingy for someone else, basically. So he's now working for his own creation, if that makes sense. And so bring them back properly.
But that first film, and I was of course, because I was in a little bit of a ramble, of an offshoot. But I was in the first year of secondary school when the TV show started, the cartoon, and I was drawing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for profit. It was that big at the time, so I'd say I'm drawing them. Order what you want. 1 turtle for £1. You can have all 4 for £3. Go home. Don't do my homework. Yep, draw the turtles. Take it in the next day. Sell them up. Get my sweets money. And then that film was such a different experience. And Raphael especially. In that film is so brooding.
He's brilliant. He's just got an actual proper character. The thing is, they've all got a character. They've all got a different character. And that's what makes them. That's what makes the film great. I mean that scene where he's fighting on the roof. Just Raphael and all these foot soldiers. It's just like it's fucking brilliant. And then he falls through the roof, obviously, and then they all start fighting in the shop. It's just great.
And what you could do now with that CGI enhancement of the mouths and the eyes. But using, I'd love to see it practical suits and then tweaked. I think that would look great.
Yes, I concur.
We're almost at an hour, so I think we'll take Ben's extra one and then we'll move on because there's a certain trailer I want to get to. So Ben, hit me with your last shout, man.
I'm going specific here again. It's a Batman version I'd like to see. It's the one that I saw when I was growing up. I'd go around to my grandma's house and there'd be comics that I could read, as my mum's talking to grandma, what you're going to do, you're going to hear some comics that your uncles used to have when they used to live there. And it was the 1970s Batman runs with Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams. And it was that wonderful, lovely live Batman with the grey and blue suit, the real pronounced fins. And we've seen Batfleck, and I really enjoyed that version of Batfleck. Even though he's a psychopath and a murderer. But that in Batman vs Superman, I thought that costume looked superb. But still not quite my Batman that I grew up with.
Sure.
And so when I was 8, 9, I was reading these things, and they were great. I've got some visual imagery for the podcast here. This is the kind of thing I'd love to see on the big screen. This Neil Adams art, these Denny O'Neil, going back to the Gothic, going back to the dark. Look at this, the Demon of Gothos Mansion.
That's an awesome cover.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. Inspired by, the genius of this artwork is it's inspired by this one from 1939.
Right. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Which
That's
is
awesome.
Superb stuff. This, and they're talking about things like, it's all very vampiric, it's all very dark, it's zombies, but it's not. It's pulpy, it's horror.
Yeah.
Here's, I offer you immortality or instant death. Choose Batman now. And you've got, looks like werewolves coming down the stairs, and she's not a vampire. She's got a flower that offers immortality. But it's the artwork that works so well.
Yeah.
Last one, I think. Oh, this is my favourite one. It's the League of Assassins, but they all look like zombies coming out of darkness, and Batman is hanging off a tree.
That's cool.
There you go.
Nice.
And I was just looking around my room when you were talking about this. It's not my own. Yes, it is my room in the house. It's my DVD room.
Someone else's home.
Yeah, Vanessa's my home. Vanessa's got a craft room. I've got my room. And all of my favourite Batman images, I realised that were on my walls, were from the Denny O'Neil, Neil Adams stuff in the early 70s. Yeah. I'd love to see that version of Batman in that grey and blue costume, hanging back in the shadows, with that edge of gothic, edge of horror, edge of anything can happen, and see how that went.
My favourite story for that era was Venom. I thought Venom was an awesome story.
That's it.
But yeah, that era, as you said, that grey suit, I'd love to see that on the big screen, man.
Yeah.
Do it, you cowards.
Yeah. Also, you can have Raj Al Ghul fighting Batman with a sword, and they're both topless.
Yeah, but still masks. Still get the mask on.
Yeah, still got the mask on. Love to see that on the big screen. Don't tell the wife.
Okay, I think we should move on because we're almost at a crisp hour. That was a good discussion, lads. But let's not mess about. Let's not hang about. Let's get to the thing we all came to talk about. Everybody's seen the Spider-Man trailer, right? Everybody's seen the No Way Home trailer.
I haven't seen it.
The what, man?
I'm joking.
He's like an 8-legged dude that got bit and there's
I'll
send you a link.
He can do anything a spider can.
That's him.
He's friendly for the neighbourhood.
I wrote a piece for the website with a clickbaity title, Everything You Missed in the No Way Home trailer. But yeah, it was packed. That trailer was packed. Something we'll go through it, I think sort of sequentially in a wee sec. But something that I noticed in that trailer, a lot of the really discussive worthy things happened in the last 15-20 seconds of the trailer. Like for the first kind of like 3/4 of the trailer, it's kind of standard Spider-Man, shtick. And then all of a sudden you get all these things kind of flashing past the screen and you're like, holy shit, what are we looking at here? But before we go in detail, what was your initial thoughts when you watched that?
Absolutely shit. No. No, it was...
Don't you piss in my fire.
No, I'm always happy with Tom Holland stuff. I always think it's brilliant.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm the only criticism I have with Tom Holland's films. He's never in New York. He's never swinging behind buildings. He's always like in Europe or
Sure.
he's in Washington.
Washington.
So I'm like, fuck. I want to see just slam into a building and make a mistake or something. But I think the film, the trailer was. I'm a bit skeptical though because it looks a bit busy. But to be honest, I'm really hyped for it. I hope they don't give you another trailer. I hope that's it, and they just make you. They give you the boo
Well,
balls, and that's it. Yeah, like it's like
for a while there was a rumor saying that they weren't doing another trailer. This
Aye.
was
I
it.
fell for that.
I mean, listen, I said this in 2015 when Star Wars was coming back out, The Force Awakens was coming back out. I don't think they should have showed a trailer. I think they should have had the Star Wars writing come up, the title come up, and the John Williams score playing, and then a date. That would have been enough. And I'm starting to wonder. I mean, the thing about this one, though, this is the third Spider-Man movie. I realise they're up in the ante quite a lot, and they're obviously tapping on the nostalgia bone. But it is a third Spider-Man movie, so I don't know if they could have pulled that off with this. But I've been saying it for years, I'd love a company to have the balls just to be like, title, score, date, you're buying this, you're coming, you don't need to see anything, just go in blind. I was thinking about recently, I think Grand Theft Auto 6 is in development right now over at Rockstar. If they announce that, just a title screen and a date, everybody's going to buy that on day one. You don't need anything, you know what I mean? You don't need to hype it up.
I think if Marvel had the balls to do that,
then
there's no way Sony are going to let them do that.
Sure, okay, that's true. That's also an issue.
That's one thing. It's like
they could have probably done it for Endgame. We would all went to see that regardless. They didn't need to show
anything
for that.
That's true,
yeah.
But like I'm like the only thing I'm like there's so many things I've learned from watching like WandaVision. Never to speculate because you're thinking it's going to be Mephisto and nothing happens and you're disappointed at the end of it. You know, like when I immediately when I saw Doctor Strange, I was like, hold on a wee minute.
Shall we go in depth to this?
Hang on.
I don't know.
I'm
jumping ahead. Sorry, on you go. Everybody's first.
No, that's okay. You boys won't be able to see this, but I've dragged the trailer onto the screen for the folks at home. So I'm going to just on mute play through it, and then we'll kind of just go through certain parts of it. So it starts off with him and Zendaya, Mary Jane lying on the roof. And we pick up immediately from the aftermath of the bombshell in the last film. Because let's be honest, the last film, it was okay, but the takeaway, the thing people remember was that post-credit scene, was that reveal. J.K. Simmons turned up Alex Jones style to be like, he is Peter Parker. Yes. So yeah, we kind of battered into there. I think the first thing worth talking about, the first kind of Easter eggy thing worth talking about, we see him in an interrogation room.
No! We got Steve Ditko in the background on the roof.
Yes, we do. That is in the article. Thanks, Ben. There is a Ditko shout out, so aye, fair play. But the first kind of story related thing I think is a scene where he's being interrogated. He's been interrogated by Damage Control, who we've seen in Spider-Man Homecoming. It was our first MCU appearance, but they have their own thing going on in the comics. And some dude in a white shirt and a black tie slams some files down on a table. There has been...
And we all know who slams files down, though. We all know who does that.
I feel like I've split folk here already. There's been rumours for a while that Charlie Cox is returning as Matt Murdock in this movie. And a lot of folks seem to think that is who that gentleman is. What do you guys think?
I don't think it is, but it could be Foggy.
Listen, when I was the guy who plays Foggy, but I don't think he's got enough lockdown pounds on him to be Foggy. He's a bit too trim.
When I was looking at it, I thought he looked kind of a bit chunky, but maybe I've not.
He is. To be fair, that has also been said. He is a wee bit husky to be Charlie Cox, but lockdown, mate, is the other most put on the pounds.
Yeah, fair enough. He's got the hairy arms.
I mean, listen, I would love it. I would love it if it was Charlie Cox because I want Charlie Cox as Daredevil in the MCU. I think that'd be fantastic.
Ben, you've been shaking your head for a while, man. Are you did?
Oh no, I'd love to see Charlie Cox's Daredevil in the MCU for as long as it lasts, which would be about 2 minutes. Then we get pulped. But yeah, he's got the Charlie Cox hairy arms. So
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah, I've seen arm comparisons going about Twitter.
I've seen that as well. It's like
People counting the arm hairs and all that. The one thing that I think I'm like, this movie's got a lot in it already. As putting Daredevil in the MCU, is this the right film to do it when we've already got so much other shit going on in this film? That's the one thing that I'm a bit trepidatious about. I'd love to see it because I like Charlie Cox's version of the character, and I love Daredevil as a character. But
was there not a storyline where Daredevil dresses up as Spider-Man and stands next to Peter Parker? Was there not a storyline like that?
There is something like that, isn't there? Yeah. So Peter can prove he's not Spider-Man.
So Peter can prove he's not Spider-Man. So Daredevil dresses up as Spider-Man so that Daredevil can be standing next to Peter Parker and say, "Listen," or as Spider-Man.
Oh, if that comes off in the film, that is a hell of a shout.
I mean, that's what I think it could potentially be. I think the whole the multiverse and stuff will just be a big mad explosion of nonsense, and then you'll eventually get back, and that's how they'll just stop. They'll put his identity to bed by having Daredevil dress up as Spider-Man.
Before we back into the multiverse chat, if you go to 038 in the trailer, Mephisto confirmed. There's a poster in the background that's Tom Holland with horns on his head and it says "Devil in Disguise." I don't know if you guys followed the rumour mill during WandaVision, but every week it was Mephisto, and they never actually followed through on it, obviously, as we all know. A lot of folk are saying this is a Mephisto reference because in the comic, One More Day, Aunt May gets shot and he goes to Mephisto to make a deal, and it messes things up for the universe, very similar to the plot of this film. And a lot of folk are saying this is a Mephisto reference. I don't think, one, I think it's maybe a reference to that. Maybe it was a Marvel writer going, let's give that book a shout out. I don't think that means he's in the film. I think Mephisto's in this movie. Two, could it be a Daredevil reference? Could it actually be a Charlie Cox?
Actually, yeah. I think that's a better shout because
could be a Daredevil reference.
There's only so much you can cram into one film. And to introduce the multiverse and everything's going to happen there with
Satan in the same film.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's a lot. But I've not heard anyone say that's a Daredevil reference yet. No. So this could be an exclusive. It is an exclusive.
That's nothing. But yeah, the Madman goes back to school, which I was like, "What were you doing, mate? You're going back to school for
you're superhero now. You don't need to go back there."
Doing, pal. And then he sees some Halloween lights that remind him of Big Benny Cumberbatch, and he goes to his gaff. Why is the Sanctum all snowy and wintry?
Yes. Why?
Don't know.
My first thought was, that's right, the big green guy smashed through the roof in Infinity War.
That's a big stretch. And
then the wizards get snapped away. So maybe the gaff's just been open to the elements. But
I read this in chat, but
he literally creates a fire with his hand, and you're like, if he wanted to, he could do this in a second. Like it's not
also, that. It's not snowing outside as Peter walks up. As Tom Holland's walking up, New York is not covered in snow. So it's like, well, I don't know why is that?
I don't know.
It could be a callback to Scrooge. I think it was in the 1950s where hell was actually in snow or something like that. I can't remember. Like his office.
Whoa, that's a reach.
And it's like,
I was going to do a reach there, and then you said that, so mine doesn't sound as dumb.
I'm pretty sure Scrooge is
the other reach that I've heard is this isn't Doctor Strange. This is Mephisto.
That's what I thought.
There's one thing that I think could point towards that. There's a few things that I think are really flimsy and bullshitty. The first bullshitty thing is he says something about Doctor Strange and he says, "Call me Stephen," or he calls him Stephen and he goes, "That's weird, but I'll take it." And somebody's like, "Oh, that's in a character. We'd never let him call him Stephen." That's a bit flimsy, right? I don't think that sticks. The second thing is the hair. People have said his hair looks really wiggy more than it ever has done.
It does look really wiggy.
Could that be because of disguise? And I'm like, I don't know if that's just prop problems. Who knows? The one thing that I think does have a bit of resonance, not in this scene, but in every other scene in the trailer, Doctor Strange has the eye of Agamotto around his neck. But he gave that to Thanos in Infinity War.
He crushed it, didn't he? Yeah.
Why is he still wearing it?
So why is he wearing it around his neck? Is he wearing it as a reminder and it's empty? There's nothing in it.
Chris has just prompted me to look something up.
Yeah, go on.
Actually, in Dante's Inferno, the ninth circle of hell, is frozen.
Oh,
I was on to something.
That's
There
a
you
deep
go.
cut, but
There
I'm
you go,
into it.
Ben.
So-
Me and you. That's what it is.
Yeah.
We're on the same way.
Chris is pulling out the divine comedy, like he knows what he's talking about. This is amazing.
That's. I mean, if it's that, that's again, that's an exclusive.
This is good, man.
Explosives everywhere.
It's Mephisto.
Well, that's a good callback because even in every other scene, you don't see him in sweatpants. He's in his whole uniform.
Yeah.
So it's like, why is he in sweatpants and is he just chilling? I mean,
Well, he's also wearing like a big puffer jacket, and obviously that's because it's cold. But he's choosing to be cold,
do that,
so it's like, what you doing? That is weird.
Even is it Wong? Am I saying his name right?
Yeah.
Even he just doesn't question it. Like he's just, I'm away on holiday. It's like, would he not say this needs to get fixed up?
It's that wink as well from Doctor Strange, which is so un-Doctor Strange.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Doctor Strange is normally a bit of a bell end, but he's even more of a bell end in this trailer.
Yeah, totally. Like that's the thing. He is Tony Stark light. Let's be honest, he's Tony Stark Mark II, but in this trailer more so than ever because he's pretty much doing the Tony Stark role for Homecoming for Peter. That's, do you know what I mean? He had Tony as his kind of as guardian, as parent, overseer in that movie, and that's maybe it's Doctor Strange. We see Wong going through a portal, and in the trailers for Shang-Chi, we see him fighting Abomination in a cage. So, is this taking place at the same time as that film? Do you think is that where Wong's going through that portal? Do we think?
I think he's going to Shang-Chi or he's going home back to. I'm sorry, I haven't watched Doctor Strange for a long time, but where they started at Doctor Strange.
Back to back to the
Or it's just too cold.
He's in here making the heat. No, Jesus, you're a tight bastard.
He's not paying the bills, Jesus. It's like going.
Fix that roof, you lazy bastard. You're magic.
Oh man, it just depends. I'm like, but because we have been like WandaVision, it's just been totally speculation. I think they're pulling the piss on us and just making us think, oh, he's winking and all that. Because even in the trailers for like Endgame, they cut people out and they misled people. So they could be doing that again. They could be adding like
totally
bloopers.
Marvel aren't above that.
Just
done it
us,
the trailer for Infinity War had Hulk in Wakanda,
Aye.
and Ruffalo was in the Iron Man suit.
Yeah, I think there's trailer trickery later on down the road in this trailer as well.
Yeah.
Well, the next significant moment in the trailer is when Doctor Strange casts a spell. Obviously, we haven't actually said this. Peter asks him to reverse the knowledge that everybody knows that he's Spider-Man. And then while making the spell, see, for a smart guy, honestly, man, Peter is letting the side down. Like, he's like, what about Ned and Aunt May? Just tell them again. You can still tell them. Like, just let him do his spell and then tap them on the shoulder and be like, by the way, do you know what I mean?
Just to let you know,
Yeah,
I'm actually
like,
Spider-Man.
Dumbass. Like, they could just do that and roll credits, but no, he has to put his foot in it.
The only real issue there is, for Peter, is MJ.
Yes. Because that was the kind of whole reason that they ended up where they are, I guess.
Yeah, and the other two you can just tell. Yeah, exactly right.
But then, I mean, we were talking about One More Day, and also in One More Day, he has to give his relationship with MJ to Mephisto in return for his Aunt May. So I guess it is echoing that.
You see, that's also why I think that the spell won't properly work. And that's also why I think that Daredevil will swing in to protect his identity again. Because otherwise it's too difficult. Because if they erase all that, or if they erase MJ's, then they won't have the same, you know what I mean? They'll have to start all that again, that the relationship again. And I just don't see them doing that. That's why I think the spell will not work, and they'll just fall into the multiverse of madness or whatever it is, and it'll be a storyline like that, and it'll just be all action sequences and so on and so forth. And then they'll spit back out at the end of it, and Charlie, or not Daredevil, will be like, hey mate, I know what I'm going to do with you. Here we go.
See, there's multiple good points there, and I'm thinking, is Doctor Strange that stupid to say just to do that though? I thought he was supposed to be the all and smart, saying we can't alter this. We know nothing about multiverse. We can't do anything.
Well, that's the thing. I know that Strange
That's
is still quite
especially
early in his career. I guess he's only been in 4 movies at this point, but he should know better at this point. Do you
The
know what
other
I
thing
mean?
is,
They should know better.
Strange is always supposed to be one step ahead. So is he doing this because he knows what the outcome's going to be anyway?
Mm.
I just realised I'm playing a trailer in the window. I really hope this video doesn't get copyrighted. Right, so the next sequence we see is Doctor Strange chasing Spider-Man through the city as it falls in on itself, as we've seen in Doctor Strange. This will look good in IMAX, was my kind of thought watching this. But we'll get. I want to come back to why we think Doctor Strange is chasing after Spider-Man, because there's another scene where he pushes him out of his body, which we'll get to. The next blink and you'll miss it clip is a bolt of lightning, yellow lightning, hitting a police car. There's a Daily Bugle fan, a couple of news fans sitting filming, and it's a police car, and the yellow bolt of lightning hits it.
Plus, it's sandy.
I was going to say it also
sandy
looks
as
like there's a
well.
bit of a sandstorm happening.
Exactly.
And then again, as seen after this, we've got echoing Spider-Man 2 with Doc Ock, which again we'll get to. There's a sequence on a train where Doctor Strange makes all these trains wrap round Peter as it's kind of flying off the track. And then the following part is him pushing him out of his body, doing the forced astral projection thing, where he throws him out of his body, and Spider-Man's holding some box thing. But we'll get back to that. Oh,
Can I just check who's confirmed for this film? Is Jamie Foxx confirmed? So that suggests that Electro is definitely in it.
It depends on what you mean by confirmed. Confirmed by Marvel, no. But confirmed by Jamie Foxx, yes.
Okay, but Alfred Molina's obviously in it.
Yes. Since this trailer comes out, he's been confirmed by Marvel, yeah.
Okay, that's two of them then.
The next scene is Happy sitting in a car with a bunch of guns pointing at him. Now, obviously, we keep going back to the One More Day comic storyline, which this is also borrowed from, and that comic Aunt May died. Well, technically brought back, but that's... I think if they're going to kill anyone in this film, I don't think it will be May, I don't think it will be Ned, or I think it might be Happy. I think this could be Happy getting it.
Getting it.
I don't know, that's a reach. This is a 2-second clip, but just the look he gives, it's very... Jon Favreau giving one last kind of look of despair and trying to get some sympathy points for the audience. I don't know. I think that could be the demise of Happy. That's just a reach. That's just a feeling.
Because there's like I've been watching like even the trailers, and I remember watching like I know with Spider-Man he has multiple suits, but maybe that could be the kind of the chaos of it. Like something happens, he changes into the armor suit, Happy gets shot or something, and he changes into something more powerful than just the normal suit he's wearing, or something. I don't know if he wears two suits like under his normal clothes, but it's like there's something about the games getting up, like the games like improved to level 2. He's not just a normal armor now. He's wearing something's happened to make him wear that. You know, he's in fight mode, so like something's happened to make him. So maybe it is.
Well, Tony always did that. Tony always upped his game every movie to a more advanced suit. So,
but even in this one, he's wearing the black suit.
Yeah, we get a clip of that as well.
So it's like, fuck, what's happening? Like,
well, there's been, I don't know if you guys follow like the actual kind of detailed nerdy stuff, but there's been a Hot Toys
the black
promotional image leaked, and it's Spider-Man wearing what looks like a Doctor Strange magic infused suit. It's got like a blue orb in the middle, and it's black, and it's very kind of Doctor Strangey, I guess.
I would just want to say before we move on, I don't want Jon Favreau to die. He's the link back to 2008.
Yes,
for us.
totally. But that is why I think it would be really impactful to kill him off, because it's got that fourth wall extra kind of emotional link to the audience. And
Kill Pepper.
Kill her, man. Or weird candles.
She was back there at the start as well.
Yeah.
Get rid of her. I prefer Happy.
Oh, brilliant.
You should work for Marvel, Ben. I'd be into that. So this is what I meant by saying like everything's kind of in the last section of the trailer. We're 2:26 in the trailer here out of 3 minutes, and we're only just starting to get these clips. So the first clip is probably the most obscure one. Well, debatable. But something happens behind Peter. He's standing in a suit, and it looks like a portal opens, maybe, and something leaps at him and growls. It is literally like half a second. I've heard everything from Lizard to Venom to Morbius to all sorts of crazy shit. What do you guys make of that scene? Who do you think that is? What's happening there?
I don't think there's any way that Marvel at this point are letting Venom in.
Yeah, I
Thank you.
agree. I think it's
Thank you for saying that.
I don't see that it's Lizard,
Wait,
but it would.
you don't
but
think that Carnage trailer's enough to make Marvel go, aye, let's get this involved?
Okay.
No. No.
I can't make out from the trailer that it's Lizard.
Yeah,
but
it's
it would
really dark.
it would make sense that it is, given that
Yeah.
you've got the Scissor Six all coming together.
Yeah. Could it just be, I wondered, is it anything? Is it just Doc Ock, or we know that possibly we'll get to Willem Dafoe coming back? Is it somebody like that, or is it being shown for a reason because this is another callback?
It's been shown for a reason,
Yeah.
and it's not Doc Ock. It's too organic coming and bouncing back off that barrier.
Yeah.
It's not the Goblin. It's not Sandman. It's not Electro. So
Lizard is the most obvious one.
One thing I will say,
Yeah.
man, I don't have a problem with them bringing back the old characters. I think it's an interesting idea. I hope they fix the design. Because I have read somewhere that these are slightly different variations of the characters from the Raimi films and from the web films.
Oh, thank God.
Because Doc Ock has we'll get to Doc Ock in a wee sec, but when he appears, he has a red glowing claws rather than the yellow glowing claws, because at the end of Spider-Man 2 he redeems himself, he takes control of the arms again, the claws go from being red to being yellow because Octavius is in control again, whereas in this trailer they're red. So has he been brought across to this universe before that moment, before he redeemed himself? Apparently. So yeah, it's fan service, because they're saying, listen, see those old movies, they still happened, we're not ruining them, we're not touching them, but those characters you liked, they're here, they're just different versions. So I think that could justify changing the Lizard design to be a bit more pointy and a bit more scary and a bit less like a Goomba from the Super Mario style.
There is on you go, Ben.
No, carry on.
No,
I'll have a beer.
I was going to have you go. Have a beer on me. I was thinking it's probably like when you made a point there at the end of Spider-Man 2, he did redeem himself, so it can. If it is technically he's coming in to help Parker, says hey Peter, and he's helping him, or it's a different universe entirely where they won. He killed Spider-Man, and he's seeing him again. It's like he's not. I don't think he's the direct coming right out of that film.
Yeah.
Which is discouraging, because then does that mean like the other two Spider-Man aren't happening? Is it just?
I also wonder: are we getting Kirk Connors, or are we just getting Lizard? Like, are we getting Rhys Ifans back, or is this just CGI spiky villain? Do you know what I mean?
The other thing is, you don't know where Spider-Man is. There's nothing to say that Doc Ock is in Spider-Man's universe rather than Spider-Man's in Doc Ock's universe.
That's a good
Sure.
point.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Could go between, yeah.
Because he has fallen, and we
He's
don't.
in the multiverse, so he could be.
That would make a lot of sense for No Way Home, if Peter is in a different multiverse and it's not Peter, it's not the Earth or whatever blah 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 it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Peter can't get home.
So we go from that possibly Lizard shot to a shot of, again, yellow lightning bolt striking what looks like a large massive sand, while a black suited Spider-Man is in the sort of closer to the camera, to the bottom right. Is this Electro attacking Spider-Man and Sandman getting in the way and helping Spider-Man, or what's happening here? Because Sandman was a sympathetic villain, and he never really wanted to be if this is the Raimi version, he never really wanted to be a villain. So could he be trying to protect this version of Peter, and this is Electro trying to kill this version of Peter, or are they working? Is this some sort of combination of their powers, or what's happening here?
It looks like a block to me.
Yeah, at this point, I don't know.
I don't know. It's just I can't remember. I can't even give the person credit 'cause I can't remember who it was. But when I watched this first time, I was just like sand. But but it was like that Leo DiCaprio meme. When he's pointing at the TV. But yeah, somebody online, again doing a frame by frame, what we are doing just now, breakdown, said that it looks like something's blocking the lightning from hitting Spider-Man. The massive sand. So could that be what's happening there? I don't know.
Because the comparison with like the Raimi films is, I think a lot of the villains at the end did redeem themselves. Like, I don't even Spider-Man 3 was is it is what it is. But I think at the end of it, Sandman did redeem himself, or he just kind of.
But that's what I'm saying. The Green Goblin and Doc Ock, well, Green Goblin not as much, but both of them kind of changed their tune towards the end, just before they died, right?
Hang on, Dan. I do need to raise a point here.
Uh-huh.
Green Goblin only did that because he got impaled by
Yeah,
his
he
own
did.
glaive.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So him less so, right? But the
That was
point
a
is,
really quick change.
the point is, he went from being an evil, cackling psychopath to a bit of a, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, so
Don't tell Harry.
So yeah, that alone, I think, shows you that this isn't those, as I said, isn't those exact versions. Obviously, because they're dead, so it can't be those versions. But Sandman from the start wasn't really a villain, so they can't really even take that route. They can't be like, oh, he didn't have the moment where he turned out a good guy, because he was kind of always not a good guy. He still tried to put Spider-Man through a train, in front of a train, but he had his reasons. He had his reasons.
In Spider-Man 3, he was going back to see his daughter to make sure she was all right. And
the next sequence in the trailer, this is something that I didn't even need to sort of research too much. As soon as I heard that laugh, that cackle, I was like, that's not
that's him. Yeah, that's what.
You see the grenade rolling towards the camera, which I thought was a nice subtle touch. They're not blowing their load in the first trailer. They're easing us into it. But yeah, I mean, it's obviously the Raimi grenade. It's the same design and everything. It's really nice kind of nostalgic callback, I think.
I really hope that he doesn't win. I think this film, it will be a cliffhanger at the ending. I really don't want. They've got too many characters to have a 2-hour film, and then at the end of it, he's won, or he's done what he's supposed to be doing. I think this might be like, it might go into the Doctor Strange film. It might just jump into different stuff.
I've read something about how it might go, but I'll go into that in a wee sec. Once we've got through Doc Ock. But yeah, Willem Dafoe being back, I take it everybody's buzzing for that.
Yeah,
because I certainly am.
What's the costume going to be, though? That's the big question for me.
Again, Ben, sorry, just as I was saying a second ago with the lizard, the way they get round that shit, like the dumb helmet thing, these are slightly different versions of the character. So do you know what they do? They go back and they get, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but there's the original mask they were going to use in the Sam Raimi film. And it's like, it's way more organic, and it's creepy looking, and it's animatronic, it moves, and the mouth moves. That's what they use. I hope they go back and they get that. They say this is a different version. It's still Norman Osborn. It's still Dafoe, but he's designed better. He's more comic accurate and more scary and less like a weird biker.
A Power Ranger.
Yeah, less like a Power Ranger. Yeah.
There's also a great piece of concept art from the first Raimi film, where the Green Goblin is almost biomechanical. So he's got like a piece of H.R. Giger art.
Yeah.
His neck is machines. His face is a goblin, and then the hat essentially is going back into something more machine-like.
Cool.
If he looks like that, I'll be made up.
Yeah, that's interesting.
This might be like a complete, but it might be because it's a different character in the comics. Like I think it's Ned in the comics, but could it be Hobgoblin? Could it be a version of Williams like merged into the Hobgoblin, so they can go in a completely more organic route? And they don't need to touch and he's orange and stuff that I don't know. It's like an interesting point to kind of,
as long as it's not James Franco.
Oh no!
It can't be anymore.
It can't be. No, it just can't be.
So when the grenade explodes, we fade to black, and someone says, "Be careful what you wish for, Parker." Is that Benedict Cumberbatch?
Yeah.
Who's saying that? Because at first I went, "That's Alfred Molina," and then I listened to it again and went, "Is that Willem Dafoe?" And then I listened to it again and I was like, "No, I think it's Benedict Cumberbatch."
You've raised a good point in the sense, who is it? So you could touch us on, is it Doctor Strange or is it somebody else? I think it is.
Is it Mephisto?
Exactly. I think it is Benovich.
And then finally we get to the money shot. We see the red glowed arm coming up onto the bridge, and then we see CGI de-aged Alfred Molina, which I think everybody's super hyped for. I love that character. I love Alfred Molina as an actor. I know that Green Goblin is more so the Joker to Spider-Man. You know, what Joker is to Batman, that's kind of like what Green Goblin is to Spider-Man. But I've always preferred Doc Ock. He's always been my favourite Spider-Man villain person.
He's a cool character, definitely. It'll be good to see him back. It'll be good to see him as part of as kind of one of the main antagonists for sure.
But I also think, I think they showed this because, again, I don't know if you guys have been reading the rumours and the behind-the-scenes rumour mill shit, but Alfred Molina basically came out and was like, yeah, I'm in it. I'm in this movie. So I think the guys do the trailer were like, yeah, if we're going to show one, then let's show him because he's already came out and said it. So I think that kind of made their mind up on what we want to actually show their face. I also wonder... I also think it's quite good that they're clearly they're holding back. They're not showing you Jamie Foxx. They're not showing you Willem Dafoe. They're only showing you him. But it's enough to tell you, oh shit, we're getting old villains and the multiverse is opened, and it opens up so much discussion and hype and all the rest of it.
What do you make of the look of? I know he's been de-aged, or to me he looks completely CGI. He looked better at the end of Spider-Man 2 as he was sinking into the Hudson, which was a fully CGI shot in 2004.
Was it?
Oh yeah, that sinking shot is fully CGI. That close up on the face,
yeah, I don't know that.
And it's awesome. And then now in 2021, we've got a ropey looking Alfred Molina strutting about.
Listen, I don't think it's horrible. I think it's been better. I think Kurt Russell looked better in the Guardian stage, and who else has it been done better on? Michael Douglas was ropey and RDJ was ropey when they did it with him.
Samuel L. Jackson for
yeah, that was great. Sam Jackson
good,
was great, and Captain Marvel. That wasn't distracting at all. I think it's okay, but I wonder how it's going to feel. I mean, this is a 2-second clip. I wonder how it's going to feel over the duration of a movie.
But he's also, back to your point, Dan, about the tweaking the designs of the villains.
Sure.
He's also wearing something there that he never wore in Spider-Man 2 as well. So
yeah,
and he's got different glasses on as well.
But it's very comic accurate.
Oh, he looks great, and Doc Ock is a fantastic character. But just as you say about the tweaking of the character designs.
So, a wee rumour I heard, I don't know how much truth is in it, but apparently the story could be these villains end up kind of sympathising with Peter, and they actually manage to get Peter on their side to help them. I think they basically tell Peter, if you send us back to where we came from, we're going to die. Because I think I read somewhere they've all been pulled across at the moment of their death. So if Defoe goes back, he's getting a glider through him. If Doc Ock goes back, he's drowning in the Hudson, etc. So they've basically convinced him, if you send us back, we're going to die. So because Tom Holland's not a murderer, unlike Tobey Maguire, he's kind of said, you know what, I'm going to try and help these guys. So allegedly, they've asked him to go and get whatever the hell that box is in that shot that Doctor Strange is pushing him out his body that he's holding the box. And he's actually trying to get that to Willem Dafoe or to, whatever villain. And that's why Doctor Strange is chasing him and he's doing the train thing and all the rest of it. But yeah, I think, Chris, what you were saying about continuing it or putting a cap on it, I think that could be a route that they could wrap it up in one movie if they went that way. But again, I don't know if there's any truth to that. I don't know how much of that is bullshit or speculation.
Yeah, it's like they all just come to kill him. Like they've just entered the universe and they're not asking any questions. How the fuck am I here? And they just said, "Oh, Spider-Man, kill him!" Like it's like looking at that, like what's happening? He could go and live a new life or something. I don't know.
Where do you guys stand on Garfield and Maguire appearing in the film? Are you expecting to see them?
I don't know. I think so. I mean, somebody was saying, was it a pal was saying that if you look at Spider-Man, Tom Holland, when he's on the car in the clip, he's wearing the same suit as what Tobey Maguire was wearing.
And Spider-Man 3,
in Spider-Man 3, yeah. So is he just a variant? Is that the way it's supposed to be?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I also wonder that cut when we go from Alfred Molina saying hello Peter to Peter putting on the Iron Spider, that's not the same scene. See if you look at the background and lighting, that's an edit. So is he actually saying, because the thing is, if this is the scene where he just arrives, Octavius just arrives in this universe, which he probably is the case since he's saying hello, he's introduced himself to the universe. How would he know at first glance that he's Peter Parker because he doesn't look like the Peter he knows.
Aye.
So it wouldn't make any sense for him to appear in this universe, see Tom Holland and be like, "Hello, Peter." He'd be like, "Who are you, mate? You've got
why
these
you
powers.
dressed
Are
as
you the same
Spider-Man?"
guy?" Do you know what I mean? There'd be more of a question to it. So is he saying it to Tobey Maguire? And that's why they've cut it to make it look like it's Tom Holland.
Yeah, I think so. I think they're going to appear in it. I think both Tobey Maguire and I forgot the other guy's name.
Andrew Garfield.
Andrew Garfield. I think both of them are going to appear in it. Even if it's just, I don't know. I think they're going to appear. I think they're going to appear, but I don't know how they're going to appear. I don't know if it's going to be like, for example, they could quite easily do something along the lines of, when Tom Holland goes into their universe, then when he looks in a mirror, for example, he's Andrew Garfield, but when we see him, he's Tom Holland. Does that make sense?
That's like that
do they do that?
film, One Night Soho, that's coming out. That's the same idea in that.
Given the amount of build-up that they've given to the multiverse, and they're showing the Sony villains and the was it Sony that made the Amazing Spider-Man? Presumably, if you don't show the other two Spider-Men, then you're going to. I will walk out the cinema disappointed. You can't do all of this and then not show the other two Spider-Men.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, I would be able to let down. I think the other thing about it is, I don't know about you guys. There was a lot of talk over the last 5 years. Are we getting to a point where there's superhero fatigue? Is the world, although these films still make a lot of money, is the world getting a bit sick of it? Is there an oversaturation? Blah blah blah. I've always said no. Give me more. Adapt more. I love superheroes. I love these stories. Keep going. But recently, since lockdown, and we've been getting all these Disney Plus shows fired at us. I've been trying to watch What If recently, and I've just not cared. Like, I think it's because it's not really, canon, and I'm just like, oh, this is a side thing. It's not important. And I kind of felt the same about Black Widow. And although I'm looking forward to Shang-Chi, I just think there's a bit of a loss of enthusiasm for me personally. And I was talking about this last night when we met in the pub, and he was saying, well, that's probably why they're going the multiverse, because we've done time travel, right? So after time travel, Black Widow's pretty tame. The Black Widow movie. Do you know what I mean? When you know where she goes in an Endgame to this other planet and falls off a thing to give her life for this stone, and it's like, really, there's no stakes in Black Widow at that point. And the same with the animated stuff, the Disney Plus stuff, like Falcon and Winter Soldier. It feels quite small time after Endgame, in my opinion. So I think this is them upping their game. They're being like, right, we've done time travel, let's do the multiverse. But then I wonder, where did they go from here? Once they introduce the multiverse, how far does the multiverse go? We spoke about Hugh Jackman coming back as Wolverine. Why they could do that. Now they've opened the multiverse, they can bring back MD they like. But have they wrote themselves into a corner? How do you scale it back? Where do you go from here? Do you just keep making multiverse movies forever? Because people are going to get sick of that. Like, I wonder where it's going, man.
I reckon.
I feel they've opened a can of worms.
I reckon, obviously, Spider-Man. I think Spider-Man has got to tie in to the multiverse of madness with Doctor Strange. It's got to. Doctor Strange is in it. They're in the multiverse. It's got to tie in. I reckon what you'll start seeing is almost like a big pop, basically, and then after that they'll start toning it down to make it a little bit more kind of ground level and start working on ground level and start building themselves back up again. Which is why I think you might see things like the Daredevil, X-Men. Just building it all back up again until we get to another huge big event like Avengers versus the X-Men or something like that.
Funny enough, Dave, that is what I said last night. My friend, my mate asked me that. He said he was like, where do you go for here and stuff? And I'm like, well, you take it back to the ground level. You take it back to Punisher and Matt Murdock and these characters that aren't involved with aliens and time travel, that are just beating up bad guys, and you kind of just go for there. I don't know. I wonder how you're going to get people. How you're going to keep people engaged after this point. I feel they've have they went as far as they can go? How long can they drag this multiverse thing out? They're obviously going to keep going with Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness.
I think it will be difficult for them to have big, huge blockbuster movies. That's got to give eventually. I reckon do they concentrate more on Disney Plus streaming kind of stuff and do TV shows more? I don't know.
But give the Marvel writers a due, man. They're good at writing themselves out of situations like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, they did time travel in a way, like, to just introduce time travel in one movie and have these characters that you've known for the last 10 years going back in time at the old movies. It was a bit of a stretch, but it felt like desperate times called for desperate measures. You kind of give them a pass.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I wonder, man.
For me, they haven't written themselves into a corner. They've written themselves into the widest open space they could possibly do, and it starts to get diluted. My interest in comics was always the origin characters. My favourite Robin is Dick Grayson. And the more that you go into, and I think when they got to the Infinity War Endgame structure where you start time traveling, you start then to do things where you say, well, why don't you just you ask too many questions of the characters I believed in the first place.
Sure.
And going back to what we said earlier, it's good film writing, good storytelling, good actors that you believe in. And that first Iron Man film was great because the casting was superb.
Yeah.
Captain America, Chris Evans was brilliant.
Yeah.
Thor, Chris Hemsworth. Again, that whole build up that first Avengers film was so well done, apart from the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a world. You open up the universe, okay? So Tony Stark flies up through that portal, sees there's a big universe out there. As it opened up in Phase 2, and you have the Guardians, they were still holding it together for me, and you were still okay. So that first story that I really, really loved with Iron Man still hangs together, even though it was just him fighting Jeff Bridges. That's still, you go into the galaxy and it all gets huge. Then you got Thanos, and as you open it up and you open up more, you start to lose the things that hold it all together. Time travel was fine, but if you then start moving into the multiverse, well, so what if that Peter Parker dies? Because there's 3 others, or there's an infinite number of other Peter Parkers. It was always in the comics when they started doing that kind of thing that I dropped off.
I'm the same
because you lose the feel.
It gets too saturated, doesn't it? There's too much. It's just like, well, where do you, how can I love this one character when I know fine well there's another 10 of them? Do you know? It's like if I don't like what this character is doing in this storyline, then I can just join the same character in another storyline. And so it's like, what's the point?
You lose the heart, you lose the meaning, you lose any sense of consequence.
Yeah, it needs to, like I say, it's fine doing it, but it needs to then blow up and then just start again, basically.
Yeah.
I also wonder, I don't know. I think it's exciting and it's easy to get kind of caught up in the hype of it all. But as you're saying, it does dilute it a wee bit. I wonder if they've just been like, do you know what? At this point, the folk coming to see these films are on board. They've seen the last 20 films. We don't, because they have kind of thrown caution to the wind in that sense. They're not babying MD anymore. Like to see Endgame, you had to have seen Infinity War. Do you know what I mean? That's it. And now with this one, it's like you have to have seen not only the last 20 MCU films, but also those films that came out 20 odd year ago that Sam Raimi directed. Do you know what I mean? To kind of get the.
Yeah, I think there's a little moment of genius there, though, because I think there might be superhero fatigue. And actually, if I wasn't so invested in all this stuff, I would have drifted off. And I have drifted off on the Marvel films. I haven't watched Captain Marvel. I've only seen half of Black Panther. Right. So I have started to drift away from the MCU.
Yeah.
But what's grabbing me about this film is, hey, I'm 23. It's 2002. Yeah. I'm desperately trying to download that first Raimi Spider-Man trailer, and it's taking 3 to 4 hours to do. And I know where I was sat in the world when I was doing that. And I want to see the Green Goblin again. I want to see Melina's Doc Ock. Yeah. Great characters. Not so fussed about seeing Jamie Foxx's Electro, to be honest. But they're as you get superhero fatigue, they're actually pulling back in the old audience. They might have started to drift off, which I think is a really clever move.
Because one thing, it is Sam Raimi, it is directing the Doctor
Strange. Yeah, so exactly.
You could potentially, like, it goes back to what you're saying, Ben, about storytelling. Like, that is a key point, and Sam Raimi is a really good storyteller. So he could potentially ground it in the sense that, like, maybe this is a really high. He always wanted to do Spider-Man 4. He always wanted to do his own, but the studio fucked it. And
Bruce
gave-
Campbell is Mysterio.
Bruce Campbell is Mysterio. There you go.
Listen, Bruce Campbell is Mephisto confirmed.
So like you could, and then that could be the like it wasn't Quentin Beck all the time. It was him, and Mysterio like took over Doctor Strange, and it was that he was illused. He went mad. He went mad, and then everything happened because it was. In a word, you don't know about Mysterio, so he might be the low tech Mysterio coming in from a multitude of madness, and he's controlling everything or something like that. Master of Mirrors or something like it's called the original one. But it goes down to the storytelling, so he could potentially be the guy that grounds it. And then, but the good thing is you don't want to go back in the sense that I kind of agree with you in the sense that you go back to the X-Men and stuff like that. But maybe now it's now going. They're taking a DC route in the sense that they're just going to go down avenues now from like really far in the corner universe and dive deep into like X-Men and not connect it. But you know they're in maybe in the world or something like that. It might go down to these routes because I think they have done the magnificent with the end game. Hopefully they don't do anything like that again. I don't want them to do a massive thing. I want them to kind of dive with the stories that we don't know. I didn't know Guardians of the Galaxy. I didn't really even know they were a comic until the film came out.
I think that's a positive for Eternals. Do you know what I mean? Exactly. Not many folk know much about Eternals. There's not that much to go on. There's a Neil Gaiman run, but there's not too much else. So I think that's a positive for that movie.
It's I think there's like you could maybe not, like I was going to say, you could if Sam Raimi wants to do like Spider-Man 4, then Andrew Garfield might get a sequel. I don't know.
Well, what I wondered before we knew anything about this multiverse in this Spider-Man film, I was going, Tobey Maguire could turn up in Doctor Strange too. Do you know what I mean? It's called Multiverse of Madness. Why not have it's Sam Raimi? Why not have a Tobey Maguire Spider-Man cameo? But now we're getting this, and it's like, oh well, I wonder if he's going to not only appear in this, but also appear in Doctor Strange. Don't know. But yeah, I wonder. I mean, Kevin Feige said, I think, is it Loki, WandaVision, this Spider-Man film, and Doctor Strange are a kind of foursome quadrilogy of the multiverse. So I wonder if they are going to wrap it up with Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. They're going to close the multiverse, so they're going to somehow streamline it so that, right, we don't need to worry about it. Fans don't need to worry about it. Writers don't need to worry about it, and we can just continue with introducing characters, building teams, doing the line forward.
I reckon Multiverse of Madness. Doctor Strange will fix it. He's going to fuck it up, and he's already fucked up anyway. I think he's with the Spider-Man No Way Home. That's him delving right into it, almost trying to fix it, if that makes sense. And then it'll thingy off, and he'll fix it, and it'll all just start again. I think Multiverse of Madness is
and a kind of Infinity War Endgame type tandem.
Aye.
Yeah, I can see that. And we're probably not getting an Avengers film for a while, so this is the closest kind of event film we're going to get, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, I think on that note, we've kind of talked that trailer to death. I don't know if you guys have got any more thoughts, but
nah, I'm fine.
We milked that 3 minutes.
Yeah, that's a teaser trailer, remember?
Yeah.
That's a teaser trailer.
Yeah. I know. Hell of a teaser.
Imagine when the actual trailer comes out, Dan, you'll be here all night.
Listen, keep your eyes peeled for BGCP Disassembled episode 50. We were talking about that, or an article on the website, I'm sure. But I did have a few other news items, but we've been going for an hour 50 nearly, so I think we'll wrap it up here. Just want to say there's some stuff on the website. Gamescom 2021 happened. I wrote a recap on that, which is on the website. I did 2 creator interviews with a writer called Gordon Rennie, a Scottish writer, and an artist called Chris Evenhouse, and those are also both on the website, and I will link them below, along with my Everything Missed in the Spider-Man trailer. That will also be linked below. If you want more Spider-Man talk after what we just went through. But listen, thank you for coming on 8 o'clock on a Sunday night of an Old Firm Day and talking about this nonsense for 2 hours, man. I had a good laugh tonight.
That's good.
My pleasure.
Ben, this has been a long time coming for you jumping on, man, so thanks for your time as well. I appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure. Lovely to meet you 2 other guys.
Yeah, and
you too.
Talk about superheroes.
And listen, I just want to give your podcast a quick plug, because that's how me and Ben first kind of got in touch before lockdown. Was through his podcast, the Universally Speaking podcast. It is disclaimer, listen, I don't know if you guys are fans of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, but see, even if you're not, and you just want to entertain the podcast, it's a pure laugh between Ben and his brother Sam. It is a great listen. So big shout out to Universally Speaking. Go and listen to that podcast because it is genuinely unbiased. I know I'm your pal Ben at this point, but even before all that, if I hated you, I'd still be like, that podcast is dynamite. It's good shit. So,
thank you, mate.
Go and download that, man. Massive plug to you. And send love to Sam because I know that he's on his superheroes, but
I will do. He said if he came on, he'd only be able to talk about the Beano, Dandy, and a push, Roy of the Rovers.
Good comics.
But I listen. If we ever run out of content for Marvel and DC, and we end up going down that rabbit hole, then he's more than welcome.
Yeah.
I'm happy to wrap it up there, lads. If you so.
Yes, that sounds good. Thanks for
Yeah.
having us on, man.
Cheers. Okay, so cheers for listening, folks. Links will be below to the website and other episodes and Ben's podcast and all sorts of other good shit. David's Kickstarter. I don't know if you want to quickly plug that, David, but as you said, it's still going, but it's reached its goal.
It's reached its goal. It's like
a hell of a
208%, I think, something like that. It's running until the 9th of September. It's doing pretty good. So, yeah.
I'm still glad to hear that, man.
Go for it. Back at Blast City, Story of Missing Girl, Volume 2.
Okay, folks, on that note, we'll call it a night. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.
All the best.
Thank you for listening to Disassembled. You can find more news and reviews on BigGlasgowComicPage.com. And don't forget, you can also find us on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube as BGCP Comic Con. Make sure you also subscribe on your podcast provider of choice for new episodes every week.